Let's get the meeting of the City of Kingman Municipal Utilities Commission meeting underway. Start with the roll call.
Chairman Burkett. Vice Chairman Perker.
Here.
Commissioner Orr.
Here.
Commissioner Shuffler.
Here.
Commissioner Van Zandt.
Here.
Commissioner Redford.
Here.
Commissioner Yarish.
Here.
Have a quorum.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is the approval of the minutes from April 25th, 2019. Has everybody?
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes last month.
I'll second.
Have the motion and the second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I carry. Okay? Excuse me. So, next order of business, number 2, consideration of public comments. We're wishing to address the Municipal Utilities Commission. We need not request permission in advance. Action taken as a result of public comments will be limited to directing staff to study of the matter or rescheduling the matter for consideration and decision at a later time pursuant ARS 38-431. Have anybody from the public? No. Okay. On to the next order of business. Number 3, new business. We've got review and recommendation for a request for water service to an unsubdivided parcel located at 4911 North Municipal Drive, parcel 3246068. Joe Julius of Big Red Construction has submitted this request for water service to an unsubdivided parcel located at 4911 North Municipal Drive. The applicant intends to construct a single-family residence.
Good evening, Commissioners. Greg is on vacation today, so I'm going to be taking his place. My name is Mike Pryor. I'm the Assistant City Engineer. Hope you don't mind me. But this is the location of the property that this item is for. There is existing water and sewer line here where they'll be able to connect to. Staff recommends approval. Are there any questions on this?
Is there any plan to move on further out? Big Red got any that you know of?
There's a Mojave County Flood Control District owns this property through here, and this is vacant property that's probably will be developed in the future. But with this Mojave County Flood Control District property, I think their intent is to grade it to accept Suffolk wash through there. So it's going to be, I'm not sure what kind of flows they're anticipating to carry, but it's probably going to be fairly deep. And the future extensions of these water and sewer line. For the sewer, I don't believe it will be deep enough to cross over that wash. For the water, it have to be deflected under the wash. When that design happens, I have to figure out what the flow is and what the scour depth is. And that water line will have to be 2 feet below their scour depth. So it could be fairly deep.
But right now, as far as that lot, it's extended past the end of the lot, and all requirements for that lot are in place. Is that correct?
Correct. Technically, they would need to extend water and sewer to the frontage of their lot. With the Mojave Flood Control District there, sewer will most likely not be able to be extended, and when with water, it's going to have to be deflected below that wash. So even if they extend it to their frontage, most likely when the new design, looks at this, they'll be cutting it back here in order to make it go deep enough. So they per utility regs, they need to extend this to this here, but that would most likely be a waste, and it would be.
Silly question, because I didn't really look, but where is this at? Or is this outside?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is within the Mojave County, but within the city water surface boundary.
Okay.
Let me zoom out. This is Thompson Avenue, and this is Marshall, right at this corner.
What's the name of that?
I can find out here. So I have, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I picked the wrong property here. It's Neil 1. It's the adjacent subdivision.
Consideration?
Motion to approve the request.
Motion approved. Second. Okay. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Number B, annual review of wastewater systems financial condition. Staff will present an annual review of the wastewater systems financial condition.
Sweet. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. So last meeting in April, I had a similar presentation to the one I'm going to present to you this evening. There was a slight difference, though, in last month's presentation, and that was that staff was going to be providing their recommendation on the use of funds in the wastewater system and then also asking for your recommendation to take to council. However, over the last month, we have already entered into budget discussions with the council and provided our recommendation at that point to the council on the discussion on the use of the funds. And so instead of just moving forward and going into the next fiscal year, I wanted to be sure to share with you the financial condition of the system as well as the 5-year CIP, the sewer connection assistance program, and kind of what we've been doing this last fiscal year and what's going to be carrying over into the new fiscal year. So just a quick background on the wastewater system and where our revenues are derived from. So sources of our revenue are our wastewater charges and our sewer investment fees. Our wastewater charges are billed monthly, and then our sewer investment fees are collected when someone connects to the sewer system. Our wastewater system is comprised of 3 different funds. We have an operating fund, and that's where all of our operations flows through: personnel, repairs, and maintenance. We also have a capital renewal fund. That is where, although it's a new fund and we don't have much money built up in that particular fund, it will eventually be used for capital renewal projects. And then we have our expansion fund, and that's where those sewer investment fees, those one-time fees, are deposited into. And that particular fund, those revenues are actually dedicated towards our debt service payment. So although it's our expansion fund, for now, those particular revenues are dedicated to our debt service. We currently have 10,665 customers connected. 9,687 of those are residential and 1,078 are commercial. So when we look at our water system as a whole, we have, 20,100, 20,200 customers. And you see here we have 10,765 wastewater customers. So we still have a lot of growth in our wastewater system. 52% of our water customers are connected, residential water customers are connected to our wastewater system. So as far as the rate structure, just quickly, it has not changed for many years, almost 20 years. And so it has been the same. We have 2 flat rates, a base rate and a capital renewal fee. And then we have sewer user charges, and those are charges that are based on the volume of water that you use each month. And there are different charges associated with that, different charges associated with that depending on the type of customer that you are. So if you're residents, you have a certain charge. If you're a certain type of business, you have a different charge. And then of course, we have our sewer investment fees. We also offer winter quarter averaging to our residential customers and to our commercial cooling tower customers. When we go on to the next slide and look at our rate history, again, it hasn't changed in, the rate structure has not changed in 20 years, and we have not changed our rates since 2013. In 2015, we changed our base rate slightly to set up that capital renewal fee so that we could start funding a capital renewal fund. But as far as the rate itself, we're still at $27.80 for a flat rate, residential or commercial, and then, of course, whatever those sewer user charges. And those have not changed in the last 20 years. Structure. Wastewater customers by fiscal year. So that just gives you a 10-year history of our customers and how they've grown. And you'll see since about 2015 is when we really started to recognize growth again in our wastewater system. And of course, that was because of the recovery of the economy. But you'll see in 2009 we had just under 9,000 customers. And so we've grown almost 2,000 customers over the last 10 years. So then diving into our wastewater financial condition, we're going to look at our cash reserves, our CIP, the SCAP program that we put into place last year. So looking at our financial condition and looking at the three funds that we currently have, which is the operating fund, the capital renewal fund, and the expansion fund, this goes to show kind of what we call our fund balance and what that looks like, what that looked like in 18, what we expect it to look like at the end of 19, and then what we expect to look like it at the end of 20, based on the projects we have funded and all of the projections we have into place. And so you'll see a pretty good depletion of our fund balance between the estimate of 19 and going into 20, and that is primarily due to spending money on our capital projects, and I'll share that with you in the next few slides. Our fund balance policy for our enterprise funds in the wastewater system is one of those, is that we will maintain 45 days to 180 days of our operating expenditures. 180 days is a best practice if you have debt service, which we do on our Hilltop loans, and 90 days is pretty much the target if you don't. And 180-day average over the last few years has been anywhere from $3.5 to $4.3 million, and you'll see we're going to be well above that over after fiscal year 20. So this is just a chart of some of our revenues and what we project over the next 5 years. You'll see a really big spike in fiscal year 20 to $14.9 million. That is strictly due to us expecting to have some financing proceeds for a very large project that we're going to be funding this upcoming fiscal year. But after that, you'll see that the revenues go right back down to where they normally are, which is about $10 million, and then some growth thereafter. And then our total expenditures by fiscal year, just broken out by our operating expenditures versus our transfers and what our debt service cost, and then that CIP program that I was talking about, our capital improvements. And again, you'll see in fiscal year 20, that large expense for capital projects that I was saying earlier, we plan on spending $19.3 million in capital projects, coming out of capital project money and not out of operations. The next slide is just our ending fund balance over the next 5 years as well. So at the end of fiscal year 20, we'll have about $6.2 million, and then you'll see at the end of fiscal year 24, we'll grow to about $7.27 million. And remember, our 180-day fund balance policy with debt is just over $4.3 million based on 20's numbers. So again, we're above that and expect to be above that. So looking at our Hilltop and downtown debt service, or debt on those two particular systems, we make one principal payment a year, and this takes into consideration the payment that we're going to be making at the end of June. So at the end of June, on June 30th, at the end of our fiscal year, we'll have just about just over $26 million still owed on this system, and our debt does not expire or mature until July of 2028 and July of 2030. And until we can until we can prepay or do something with this debt, you know that it's a struggle to fund our CIP and give rate reductions, and so this is where we stand on this particular item. One of our loan covenants for the debt is that we have to maintain a debt service ratio coverage of 1.5. And you'll see at the bottom of this slide, at the end of 19, we expect to be just over 2. And at the end of 20, we'll be at 1.87, so we're well above the 1.5 ratio that we're required to maintain. All right. So looking at our 5-year CIP, we have a 5-year CIP total of about $26 million, just under $26 million. Broken out into the type of CIP, you'll see that 70% of those projects are renewal projects. We have a few expansion projects that total 21% of that $26 million, and then what we call an other group, so studies and that reclaim water injection project we put in that other title. So let's look at the projects that have been that will be taken to council next council meeting in June for adoption of the tentative budget. We've got, as I said, just under $26 million in total. So let's look at the different projects based on the type, and let's start with the expansion projects, which one of them is our diagonal wash interceptor project, and that is going to be funded all in fiscal year 20. And then we have just general sewer line extension projects, and those are the ones that the commission several years ago recommended to the council, and the council took that recommendation that we set aside, and just general extension projects is what we fund year over year. We also have the Devlin Avenue sewer line project that will come into play this fiscal year. We're going to partner with the county on that one. Then we have some other projects. A big one is that reclaimed water injection project that we've already started. We've already used some of the funding in fiscal year 19 budget for this particular project, and then we have a few other pieces of equipment. But most of those other projects, almost $14 million, are capital renewal, and you'll see the very large project that I'm talking about that's $12.7 million is that downtown sewer outfall line that we've talked about the last few years. And because we do not want to deplete our cash reserves and we want to be able to have some projects in the next few years to fund, we've decided to finance about $5 million of that project. So we'll incur a little bit of debt over the next 10 years associated with that. About just over $600,000 is what we're expecting. But that debt has been projected in all of the charts that I have shown you, and all of our projections, and we will still maintain all of our loan covenants that were required with that particular debt. So do you have any questions on these particular projects? I know that this is always a really important item and one that we like to discuss, and so we have our team here to answer any questions on any of these particular projects. Yes?
Why do you have a dump truck?
Anything that's over, well, Keelan, why do you have a dump truck?
Operationally, right? So we, at our Hilltop plant, we opt to do a composting program as opposed to landfill our biosolids. So it saves us money from having to landfill those biosolids from both facilities, both our downtown plant as well as our Hilltop facility. Currently, or for the past 7 years, we've been at a loaner dump truck from the department. So we figured it was our turn to get one. Of course, that's an aged dump truck that I think was pulled off the auction line some 7 years ago.
Okay. That was just curious.
Good question.
So if I'm understanding this right, so it's $12,700,000 that needs to go into that downtown sewer outfall line. Now, when you said we're going to go incur some debt over that, are we doing the whole line or just a portion of it?
We're doing the whole line.
So that allows us to do the whole line and fix the problem at this point.
Sure does.
Could you tell me a little bit about that? That's the old ductile iron pipe that goes down there above ground.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly,
It is that line. Yep, it sure is.
it seemed like that was only 30 years ago, but it's about 30 years ago. Like I heard through my age, I just remember the first time that wasn't the first time it was put in, but when it was replaced about 30 years ago. Apparently, it didn't last that long.
Yes, sir.
Maybe 30 years is a good lifespan for something.
So I know it certainly predates me, but so that would get rid of. You're absolutely right. That would get rid of all of the above ground ductile iron that you see. We've got a portion of it that comes behind the powerhouse here, and then we've got another portion that comes down there from Old Trails Road, and then they eventually connect at the first Black Bridge, where they come together collectively as one. That presents a number of problems for us, though. Obviously, it's in a floodplain, but even more importantly, it's in a waterway of the U.S., or what they consider a waterway of the U.S. So in the event that we would ever have a spill, which hopefully we never do, although we did come close on August 4th with the heavy rainstorm that we had down there, it took out a couple of the trestles that support that. Fortunately, we didn't lose it in its entirety. But so one could imagine the fines that could be levied in the event that we did have a discharge of that old line in that wash. So this would replace all of that. It comes with a couple miles. Is it a couple miles total?
Yeah, it includes lift stations, reroute some of the current users. Yeah, the big issue for us is just it's not accessible for maintenance. So when we had that Russell, of course, extensions last spring, that storm, he was taking back those wash. Running, trying to get to the property. It's real problematic. Maintenance. It's a potential.
So you're putting part of it underground now?
I'm sorry.
The plan would be to put part of it under, or all of it underground?
All of it underground.
It's all rock down there, it's like rock.
Yes, I think the plan is to take it down Old Trails Road, and you're right. There will be some excavation that's difficult, but it will go from above ground to underground with, like Rob mentioned, 2 additional lift stations that we don't currently have.
So right now, it's all passive on its way down to the downtown plant? Is that the way it is? Or is there any lift stations now?
There's no, yeah, it's all
gravity feed down there. So we'll probably have some more maintenance, I'm assuming, if you're going to have some lift stations out there in the future?
There will be, because obviously there's pump maintenance, and mechanical equipment that comes along with that, as well as some VFDs and stuff like that. But like Rob mentioned earlier, right now we have no way to maintain CMOM compliance. So if the state ever adopts the federal program, which I'm sure is soon to come, we have no way to access that line to be able to clean it or maintain it or TV it.
Well, I'm good with it. My only question, do you guys have funding in here for maintenance issues of the lift station?
So the project won't be completed until the end of fiscal year 20. So maintenance would be in fiscal year 21.
Okay. So it'll be kind of incorporated in that.
It sure will. Mm-hmm.
Other discussion?
Well, basically, right now, the one that you guys was talking about was wide open. There's a huge pollution liability, and that falls on the city, right? If something happens to that line, there's no way to forget. Yeah, get that resolved.
You probably pulled it off on the GIS.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I think that's the one I've never seen pictures of before.
Just right click.
Sorry, I went the wrong way.
Just right click and show. Yeah.
Oh, you got it. Oops. Yeah. So.
Putting that in ground's going to be the ticket. Every time I drive by that thing, I'm in awe over the vulnerability of that line, Well,
because the city, does this participate in like the Arizona main fund for the insurance backing? Is it pooled like the schools are?
We are pulled with AMR.
You are pooled with AMRB, okay.
Yep.
So what's the city's retention on that? Do you know what the city's pollution retention is? It's got to be well in 6 figures at least.
Don't.
Oh, that's sad.
So,
That's the one. Yeah.
so all of this that you're seeing going back this direction, if you can see where my mouse is pointing, sorry. And then all of this, as you go back towards Old Trails, or excuse me, Gold Road, is above ground, and then they come together collectively here, and then it's still above ground with a single conveyance down to our treatment facility.
A lot of pipe. Yeah.
So the new pipe will be expected to hopefully last longer than 30 years then.
Well, in ground is going to make a
Big,
difference
big
too.
difference
You know?
too. Those concrete.
Yeah, there will be.
With the sewer being pressurized with this. Actually, this line is fairly robust. It's not a slip in joint. It's similar to a fill lock, so even if it's apart, but the joint still holds together. That's really important. This experience is pretty large.
So have you considered coring any of this?
Yeah, the main location that towards across from the railroad and back across that. Of the location that get over there.
Big project.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, Keelan.
Be done in like
Thanks,
a year.
Rob. Thanks,
year.
Mike. All right, so were there any other questions on any of the other projects?
One, that diagonal wash interceptor, is it going right along the same lines as what we've got flowing out of there right now, just making it bigger?
So that's part of the bigger project that would provide service to the east edge. This would provide crossing the railroad and an extension along the diagonal wash to tie into the outfall line in Mojave Wash.
Is that the big trunk that was designed to pretty well pick up that whole area out there?
Yeah, it's that end of it from Mojave Wash to just where we would cross the railroad tracks on this side. The other phases.
Correct me if you would. I think there was a discussion on two lines coming through there. When we were talking about Kingman Crossing, there was a low line, and then the one that Campana had out there on that, coming down Rancho Santa Fe Boulevard. Is this line big enough to pick up both of those? Or is it just the one that was going across the lower end?
So I think the existing line in the airway needs to service most of what was south.
Mm-hmm.
This would service the area north, kind of east of Prospector, north of Airway.
Okay, so
There might be some other projects master plans.
There are, I might interject for just a moment, Mr. Kepler, I think, so there would be some additional parallel lines that would help serve or alleviate some of the capacity issues on some of the lines that you're talking about, like coming out of Rancho Santa Fe.
let me phrase that question in a different way so I can kind of get a feel for what we're doing here. This particular line, to get it to the sewer plant, running as far as it's designed to run, will it pick up that whole area out there? All we have to do then is tie onto it, or is there going to be two lines, one higher and one lower?
To my knowledge, and what's outlined in Sunrise's master plan study, which is where this project was pulled from, right, there would be this single one. I believe, if memory serves me correctly, it's between 24 and 27 inch, so it's a large
That's exactly
interceptor.
what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Right.
And eventually, like Rob mentioned, it would have multiple phases going up, I think eventually at build out towards the.
Yeah, it would tie in around stage. I think there are the master plan is broken into near-term, intermediate term, and long-term projects. I think there are longer-term projects that entail a crossing out around the airport.
Okay. All right, but in new subdivisions or anything go in that area, we've got a master trunk to tie into. That's where I'm at. Okay, thank you.
We don't know the detail because all that property is undeveloped, so in the future it has to be extended to match those.
Mm-hmm.
Would that extension cost be done by the city or by the developers usually?
It's typically by the developer, but there could be some development between the city.
For permit tax relief, yeah.
Yes, sir.
With this line, did we look at any of the reclaimed water coming back?
No. Again, we're still proceeding with the injection well as our first use, our highest priority use. So we've awarded the contract for that well driller. Perhaps some different driller. We'll be proceeding with that as our priority.
Any further discussion?
Great.
Mr. Yarborough? Yes, appreciate it. Now, I understand that this is just informational, so you've already submitted to the city council, so we're not looking to take a
Not
vote
talking
on
about-
anything? Or?
And we wouldn't normally take a vote on CIP, that's a council discussion, but as far as the discussion on use of funds, normally I'm able to provide to you, hey, do we want to look at a rate reduction, do we want to look at prepayment, or do we want to fund our fund our CIP program? But again, I had a family emergency and was unable to attend last meeting, and so I had to provide the council with what we had recommended. So I'm just providing all of this information to you as information so that, again, going into fiscal year, you know where we are, and when we look at next year's financial condition, you know where we have been this fiscal year. I want to just share with you quickly the SCAP program. Just if you recall, we put $50,000, and this was your recommendation, and council agreed as well, to dedicate $50,000 towards what we're calling our sewer connection assistance program. So really where the city is going to prepay connections and all of the costs associated with connections, and then we would require those customers to pay us back over a 10-year period. And so we've had 3 customers actually take advantage of this program this year. And just a quick fun story, we had taken this to council in February, I believe, maybe early March, and it was effective April 1st. And so several of us had gotten to the office early that morning, about just after 7 o'clock, and we don't open our doors until 8 o'clock, but there was a car out in the parking lot, and okay, so a customer got here early. Well, at 8 o'clock, this elderly lady rushes in. She was so excited about the sewer connection assistance program, and she actually thought that there were going to be so many people that were going to be in line to sign up for it. She wanted to be the first in line, so that was pretty exciting. I wish the entire community felt that way, but it was pretty great. Anyway, we have had 3 customers connect, and every one of them have been current on their payments. And really, the total cost of the program to this point has only been $7,761 for those 3 customers to connect. So it's been really beneficial for them, and we're collecting their sewer revenues too. So that's been good for us. And this is just some assumption stuff. But anyhow, in conclusion, our wastewater system is healthy. We are able to fund our CIP program. We are meeting our loan covenants. We do have cash reserves, and over the next 5 years, we look healthy going into the next 5 years as well. So with that, I'll take any questions that you might have, or thank you so much for allowing me to present this to you this evening. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, next item on the agenda is announcements from the commission members. Commissioners have any comments? Go on.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.